Kung Fu movies might just be the original Asian fusion, and Bruce Lee is the man who bridged the gap to American culture with a popularity few could have predicted. But what about the man behind the legend? A new movie brings us the story of the master who started it all. There's a reason they say it's love at first fight.
Bruce Lee. The name alone evokes images of lightning-fast strikes, superhuman reflexes, and unmatched martial arts prowess. But even for the most dedicated fans, some aspects of Bruce Lee's legend seem almost mythical. We're talking about feats of strength, speed, and control, pushing human capabilities' boundaries. From one-inch punches that send grown men flying to mind-blowing displays of agility, these moments are so incredible and outlandish that if they weren't caught on camera, they'd belong in the realm of comic books, not reality. In this video, we're diving deep into the archives and unearthing footage that will have you questioning everything you thought you knew about the human body. Lee's one-inch punch. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch is the most well-known move in martial arts history. As its name suggests, the one-inch punch is a technique martial artists use to hit targets at incredibly close range. The thought that, if done right, an attacker can exert enough force to bring down his opponent makes it unique. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch gained widespread recognition as early as the 1960s, about 10 years before Lee rose to prominence as a global martial arts celebrity. Lee became famous when he demonstrated it at the Beach Karate National Championship. At the time, the martial arts community took notice of him widely. Interest in Lee's one-inch punch increased dramatically as his notoriety increased. Although Lee made the move so famous that many renowned martial artists from different kung fu forms now utilize it, Lee remains the most well-known practitioner of the technique. Keep watching. The story is just getting interesting. Lee did not come up with the one-inch punch suddenly in 1964. It is based on Chinese martial arts in general and the instruction he received as a teenager. Lee's martial arts expertise began in the 1950s when he trained under Wing Chun Grandmaster Wing Chun, who laid the groundwork for Lee's form of Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do. The one-inch punch's tenets derive from its theory, since Wing Chun is a fighting style for close quarters. Lee was already acquainted with techniques designed for close quarters combat because of his training in Wing Chun. Before the one-inch punch was publicly unveiled, Bruce Lee's pupil, James DeMille, provided insight into Lee's development method. He claimed that Lee developed an enhanced version of an already known Wing Chun move. Lee attempted to shorten the technique by experimenting with various stances and angles, since he thought it would be more effective if performed from a closer range. Eventually, they found a combination that worked. Lee demonstrated its power once by throwing someone 16 feet back and landing them squarely in a chair. Lee's accuracy, instant execution, speed, a crucial attribute for which the actor is currently well known, and the precise angle at which he accomplished it are all responsible for his accomplishments. Bruce Lee's one-inch punch is mighty because of his speed, which is also one of the reasons so few martial artists have been able to replicate it so well. Lee's father taught him the foundations of martial arts. During his teenage years, Lee got entangled in gang disputes in Hong Kong, which resulted in a lot of street battles. Lee's studies of Wing Chun had the most significant impact on his development as a martial artist. After suffering defeats at the hands of rival gang members, 16-year-old Lee trained in Wing Chun under Ip Man in late 1956 and early 1957. Form practice, sticking hand drills, wooden dummy techniques, and free sparring were the main components of Ip's regular lessons. The classes followed no predetermined schedule. Between 1956 and 1958, Edward, the coach of the St. Francis Xavier's college boxing team, trained Lee in boxing. In 1958, Lee defeated Gary Elms, the defending champion, via knockout in the Hong Kong Schools Boxing Championship final. Following his relocation to the U.S., Lee was significantly impacted by heavyweight boxing champion Muhammad Ali, whose moves he observed and adopted into his style during the 1960s. Lee advocated mixed martial arts training and was especially interested in grappling. In addition to Jean Lebel, Lee received instruction from several judo practitioners in Seattle and California, including Fred Sato, Jesse Glover, Taki Kimura, Hayward Nishioka, and Wally J. He studied as much as he taught, and many of his early pupils were skilled in judo and other martial arts. On the set of The Green Hornet, Lee became friends with Lebel and offered to teach him striking arts in exchange for learning grappling tactics. Lee's grappling tactics. Prominent grapplers Lou Thez and Ed Lewis had taught Lebel to catch wrestling, and vital judo and catch wrestling techniques can be found in Lee's Tao of Jeet Kune Do. Ji Han-jai, the Hapkido instructor, also taught him some grappling techniques. Glover claims that Lee's main observation about judo's ineffectiveness was when it came to seizing the opponent. During their first training session, Glover demonstrated an Osoto Gari for Lee, which Lee thought was a good technique, but he didn't appreciate that Glover had to cling to Lee. Lee learned how to avoid being tackled or taken to the ground by opponents while living in Seattle. Glover said that Lee would not go to the ground if he could get you standing up. Still, Lee told Lebel that he wished to incorporate judo into his fighting technique. He added judo throws, arm locks, and chokeholds to Jeet Kune Do, including the Osoto Gari. Lee showcased grappling moves in his films, including Way of the Dragon, where his character finishes his opponent Chuck Norris with a neck hold inspired by Lebel. Lee felt grappling was not very useful in action choreography because it was not visually distinctive. In addition, Lee and Han-jae trade grappling techniques in Game of Death, and Lee uses wrestling to subdue Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's character. The training regimen of the Great Gama, an Indian not all. The Dragon Flag Bruce Lee was an extreme sportsman. According to his widow, Linda Lee, he would watch TV athletes perform full splits and never miss an opportunity to work out. Bruce's wife claimed that he would practice and hone his talents virtually every minute of the day. He knew he would need to put in a tremendous deal of practice and exercise to be the best martial artist in the world. Building up his core was Lee's top priority out of all the muscles in his body, since he felt that the stomach region, or core, is involved in practically every movement and is crucial in martial arts. Lee created what is now known as the Dragon Flag in his honor to strengthen his core. It is regarded as one of the most challenging core workouts available if you can't figure it out. Since Lee didn't play around, though Lee is said to have been able to sustain his entire body on the edge of a bench with only his shoulders touching anything, while the rest of his body remained perfectly rigid and horizontal to the ground, Stallone may have popularized the move in Rocky IV. These days, martial artists worldwide use Bruce's Dragon Flag exercises as a standard because of his ability to make martial artists understand the value of having strong core muscles. Stay tuned. The best part of the video is just around the corner. Lee's superhuman strength. Bruce Lee's sheer power is one of his accomplishments that many people fail to recognize. Although it may seem apparent that a martial artist must possess strength, most people are unaware of Bruce Lee's actual level of strength. Most people think that having very massive muscles equates to strength. Most likely, when you imagine someone who is powerful, you envision someone roughly 6 feet tall with more muscles than they could need. But Bruce Lee was a tiny man, but he possessed strength beyond the reach of most people's imaginations. Examining his training bags is a simple method to demonstrate this. Bruce practiced punching and kicking with training bags like other people do, but he would devour these packages in an instant. He would frequently pound through or rupture standard punching bags to the point where it became inconvenient for him to use them. Bruce would therefore have to locate denser, heavier sacks that would not break under the impact of his extraordinary power. Remember that a typical punching bag weighs roughly 50 kilograms. However, Bruce frequently had to utilize bags weighing more than 135 kilograms. According to reports, Bruce was able to kick these bags many feet into the air, which just served to highlight how amazing things are. Bruce could send these sacks moving, but if you tried to kick one yourself, they probably wouldn't move more than an inch or two when you made contact. Bruce Lee understood the human body like a pro. Not only could he perform an astonishingly high quantity of push-ups, but he could complete them with just one hand. He was once put through a test to determine how many push-ups he could complete. Bruce boldly decided to go further and challenged himself to perform push-ups with just 2 fingers. He accomplished more than 200 push-ups in this try. Later, he set a higher standard and accomplished at least 100 push-ups using his thumb. If that weren't enough, he frequently performed hundreds of pull-ups with just one hand. But there's still another awe-inspiring accomplishment. Bruce Lee could perform more than 1,500 consecutive push-ups without pausing if you were to judge him only on his standard form. Although that is utterly unbelievable, that is the reality. There was no man like this. That's not all. Bruce Lee enthusiasts have long known this, but those unfamiliar with martial arts might not. Bruce Lee was acclaimed as one of the world's best martial arts actors when he shot to fame in the 1960s and 1970s, but he came dangerously close to failing in the film industry. You might wonder why, since he was just too quick. Filmmakers could not capture Bruce Lee's movements in real time when they worked on The Green Hornet, one of his most well-known TV series. We now own cameras capable of recording at 30, 60, 120, or even 240 frames per second. However, most cameras in the 1960s and 70s had trouble recording film at a speed of only 24 frames per second. As a result, most of Bruce Lee's fight scenes appeared incorrectly in the film. As the filmmakers soon discovered, Bruce could throw 9 punches in a second. In addition, he had a 6-second kickoff speed. Bruce appeared motionless in numerous combat scenes because capturing his movements on a camera that could only capture 24 frames per second at most was difficult. Producers on the set then claimed that the footage they captured showed Bruce standing still as his foes descended around him. In actuality, though, his talent was too outstanding for the movies to match. The filmmakers had to ask Bruce to slow down so they could follow him properly, which helped to correct the dilemma. But even after that, his movements appear quite hazy on camera. If you enjoy watching martial arts movies, you've watched Karate Kid before. When you watch the movie again, you probably remember a scene where Daniel LaRusso practices using chopsticks to capture flies. What looks easy on the surface turns out to be quite challenging. Bruce Lee, though, would go one further. Regretfully, there was never a flawless photo of this accomplishment. However, according to reports, Bruce Lee would throw pieces of rice into the air and use chopsticks to catch them. He took this action to sharpen his reflexes in the most remarkable manner imaginable. He was reportedly very expert at it, seeing the rice practically every time it was thrown into the air. His reflexes were significantly quicker than any of his rivals at the moment. And after all these years, nobody has been able to equal or exceed his achievements. It seems so complex that many people today question whether Bruce Lee was able to accomplish this accomplishment at all. However, this is simply one more instance of Bruce Lee's superhuman abilities. Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee is the creator and practitioner of Jeet Kune Do, also known as JKD. It is a hybrid martial art that translates to way of the intercepting fist in Chinese. It developed as a new school of martial arts philosophy from Lee's experiences in unarmed combat and self-defense, and eclectic Zen Buddhist and Taoist beliefs. As an eclectic martial art, it relies on a fighting style heavily influenced by Wing Chun, Tai Chi, Taekwondo, boxing, fencing, and Jiu-Jitsu. Bruce Lee himself never formalized Jeet Kune Do before his death, forcing later JKD practitioners to rely upon their interpretation of the philosophy created by Bruce Lee.
I always say that that Bruce Lee is actually all about love, because everything he did from his heart.
Happy birthday, Gung Gung.
Happy birthday, Baba. We wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
80 years of Bruce Lee.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. If I could describe Bruce Lee in one word, it would be father.
Bruce Lee transformed martial arts and action films forever. But strangely, most of his days were not glamorous or happy. His life was constantly surrounded by rumors and controversies, and his untimely death at 32.
What's Bruce Lee's cause of death? Bruce Lee died on July 20th, 1973 in Hong Kong at the age of 32.
Only increased speculation about his personal life and the circumstances of his death. Now, decades later, his daughter, Shannon Lee, has broken her silence, sharing surprising truths about the man behind the legend. What she revealed will change the way you see Bruce Lee. What exactly did she say? Join us as we reveal what Bruce Lee's daughter finally said about him. Bruce Lee's controversial background. To understand how Bruce Lee's extraordinary life unfolded, we need to step back and look at his journey, from his early days as a restless child to his rise as a global martial arts icon.
Bruce Lee was a dance champion. The legend martial artist who was an inspiration of every kid's fighting dreams was also a cha-cha dance champion.
Shannon started by confirming her father's childhood. Bruce was born in San Francisco in 1940, during a brief trip his parents took to the United States. His father, Lee Hoi Chuen, was a celebrated opera singer and actor.
Lee Moon Chuen, known professionally as Lee Hoi Chuen, was a Cantonese opera singer and film actor in Hong Kong. He was the father of Bruce Lee,
while his mother, Grace Ho, came from a prominent family in Hong Kong. Although Bruce was born in America, his roots were firmly planted in Hong Kong, where his family returned shortly after his birth. His early childhood was mostly about him living comfortably, thanks to his father's success in the entertainment world. But it wasn't long until things changed. We're just getting started. Stay tuned because what we'll reveal in due time will leave you shocked and in disbelief. Everything changed when World War II reached Hong Kong. The Japanese occupation brought immense challenges. Resources were scarce, and life became a daily struggle for survival. These years of hardship left a mark on young Bruce, who experienced firsthand how quickly a stable life could be upended. Despite the difficulties, the family persevered, and after the war ended, they worked to rebuild their lives. Bruce's father resumed his career, and the family regained some of their footing. As a child, Bruce was full of energy, often finding it hard to sit still or focus on schoolwork. He started his education at a prestigious institution, but his academic performance didn't reflect the same level of promise. His parents, recognizing his potential in other areas, transferred him to different schools, hoping a change in environment might help. But Bruce wasn't cut out for the traditional school setting. He was drawn to physical activity and was always getting into trouble, often finding himself in fights with local gangs. His parents, eager to channel his restless energy into something productive, introduced him to martial arts. At 16, Bruce began studying Wing Chun under the guidance of the highly respected Yip Man. This decision changed the course of his life. Training in Wing Chun gave Bruce structure, discipline, and an outlet for his boundless energy. Yet even here, challenges arose. Due to his mixed heritage, some of Yip Man's students refused to train with him, but Bruce didn't let this deter him. He continued to learn, sometimes in private sessions, and his natural talent began to shine. By the time Bruce was a teenager, everyone knew about his skills.
I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot.
He started participating in local boxing competitions, where he quickly made a name for himself. However, his growing reputation in the martial arts world didn't mean his troubles were over. Bruce's fiery temper and tendency to get into street fights worried his parents. After a particularly violent altercation left another boy badly injured, his family decided it was time for a change. At 18, Bruce was sent to the United States to live with family friends in San Francisco. Moving to America marked a fresh start for Bruce Lee. While finishing high school, he worked various jobs to support himself. Later, he moved to Seattle, where he began teaching martial arts. Bruce wasn't just repeating what he had learned from Yip Man. He was already mixing techniques from different styles to create a more flexible approach. His classes became popular, attracting students from all backgrounds. While studying philosophy and drama at the University of Washington, Bruce started promoting his martial arts philosophy, which later became Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting fist. This style focused on practicality and breaking away from rigid traditions. This served as the beginning of his martial arts career. The unexpected twist is coming, so keep watching. Bruce's successful career and death. In 1964, Bruce got his first big break when he performed a martial arts demonstration at the Long Beach International Karate Championships. His display of speed and power, including his famous one-inch punch, left the audience in shock. This event caught the attention of Hollywood, opening doors for him to pursue a career in film and television. His first major role came in the TV series The Green Hornet, where he played Kato. Although the show only lasted one season, it introduced Bruce's unique fighting style to a wider audience and planted the seeds for his future success. After The Green Hornet ended, Bruce found himself at a crossroads. Hollywood wasn't offering him leading roles, partly due to the racial biases of the time. Frustrated but undeterred, he returned to teaching martial arts and continued refining Jeet Kune Do. He also worked as a fight choreographer, lending his expertise to movies and TV shows.
The movie Way of the Dragon, the most iconic martial arts scene in history, is the Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris, which was actually filmed illegally.
During this time, Bruce developed relationships with several Hollywood figures, many of whom became his students. His charisma and skill made him a sought-after teacher, even as he struggled to find his footing as an actor. In the early 1970s, Bruce decided to return to Hong Kong, where he discovered that he was already a star. His role in The Green Hornet had made him a household name in Asia, and this newfound fame led to opportunities in the Hong Kong film industry. His first major film, The Big Boss, was an instant hit, showcasing his martial arts prowess and on-screen presence. This success was followed by Fist of Fury and The Way of the Dragon, each more successful than the last. Bruce's films redefined martial arts cinema, combining intense fight scenes with an impressive exploration of philosophy and personal struggle. Bruce's growing success allowed him to take control of his career. He founded his own production company and began working on projects that reflected his vision. His collaboration with Warner Brothers on Enter the Dragon marked a significant milestone, bringing his talents to a global audience. Tragically, Bruce passed away just days before the film's release. Bruce Lee's impact didn't end when his life was cut short at just 32. In fact, it's safe to say that his death only made his legacy stronger. His movies turned martial arts into a global phenomenon and brought Hong Kong cinema into the spotlight like never before. Before Bruce, Hollywood barely paid attention to Asian actors, and when they did, it was often in stereotypical or secondary roles. Bruce changed that. His work laid the foundation for stars like Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and Donnie Yen to rise. He showed that martial arts could carry a movie and connect with audiences on a deep level, no matter where they were from. After his death, Bruce's influence didn't fade. His fight scenes became the blueprint for action choreography, studied and imitated by filmmakers across the globe. He made martial arts cool, accessible, and inspiring. Even today, directors and stunt coordinators credit Bruce Lee for how they approach action in films. His philosophy, which combined martial arts with a unique mindset of self-improvement and adaptability.
I do not believe that there is such thing as like Chinese way of fighting or the Japanese way of fighting or whatever way of fighting.
Has gone beyond the world of cinema. It's taught in gyms, seminars, and even business conferences. Bruce didn't just teach people how to fight, he showed them how to think. But while Bruce's legacy soared, his family faced a storm of controversies. The circumstances of his death raised endless rumors that left his wife Linda and their children, Shannon and Brandon, constantly defending his name. Bruce died in 1973 at the height of his fame after collapsing in the home of actress Betty Ting Pei. The official cause was brain swelling caused by an allergic reaction to a painkiller, but that explanation didn't sit well with the public. People started making up wild stories, from secret love affairs to mob hits and even drug abuse. It was at this point his daughter knew she had to clear the air before her father's reputation was dragged into the mud. The drama is about to unfold, so don't miss it. Shannon's revelation about Bruce's life off-screen. Shannon was only 4 years old when Bruce died, but as she grew up, she made it her mission to protect his legacy from all the gossip and misinformation. According to Shannon, her father was a disciplined, thoughtful man who didn't fit the sensationalized stories that surrounded him. She's been clear that the idea of Bruce being involved in drugs is completely false. He never touched hard drugs, she says, and the traces of cannabis found in his system were blown out of proportion by the media. Shannon has also spoken about the challenges her family faced when Bruce's death was linked to Betty Ting Pei. The fact that Bruce was at Betty's house when he collapsed fueled rumors that they were having an affair. Betty herself received threats from angry fans who blamed her for Bruce's death. Shannon believes these accusations were not only unfair, but also deeply hurtful. There's no solid evidence that Bruce and Betty were romantically involved, but the scandalous narrative stuck, overshadowing the truth of his final hours. Shannon has also rejected the conspiracy theories that claim Bruce was killed by Chinese triads or his business partner Raymond Chow. Some have suggested that Chow, who worked closely with Bruce, had something to gain by his death, especially since Chow took control of Bruce's unfinished projects afterward. But Shannon dismisses this, emphasizing that her father's death was a tragic medical event, not the result of any criminal activity. One of the most persistent stories about Bruce's family is the idea of a curse. This theory gained traction after Bruce's son, Brandon, died in a tragic on-set accident while filming The Crow in 1993. Brandon was only 28, and his death mirrored his father's in its suddenness and mystery. People began speculating that the Lee family was cursed, pointing to the death of Bruce's brother in childhood as further evidence. Shannon has always been firm that this so-called curse is nothing more than superstition. She sees both her father's and brother's deaths as terrible accidents, not some supernatural pattern. Shannon has also been vocal about her frustration with how Hollywood portrays her father. She was especially critical of Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Bruce was depicted as cocky and easily beaten in a fight with a fictional stuntman. Shannon found this portrayal disrespectful and inaccurate. She pointed out that her father wasn't just a movie star. He was a real martial artist with actual wins under his belt. She felt that Tarantino reduced Bruce to a stereotype instead of showing the depth of his character and skill. In her efforts to preserve her father's legacy, Shannon has taken on the role of sharing who Bruce Lee really was. According to Shannon, Bruce had a unique ability to focus his mind and turn his goals into reality. He was all about self-discipline and finding balance in life, values that he instilled in his family and students. Shannon herself learned Jeet Kune Do, the martial art her father created, as a way to connect with him. Though she initially pursued acting, she eventually took on the responsibility of managing the Bruce Lee Foundation. Through the foundation, Shannon works to teach people about her father's philosophy and the positive impact it can have on their lives. The construction of the shrine initiated a centuries-old pilgrimage tradition, a practice that continues to this day. One of the most significant events tied to the site is the annual Nabi Musa festival, a pilgrimage from Jerusalem to the shrine. The festival is traditionally linked to the celebration of Laylat al-Miraj, commemorating the Prophet Muhammad's night journey and ascension to heaven. This vibrant festival demonstrates the lasting legacy of Moses in Islamic thought, as pilgrims honor his life by visiting this sacred place. Nabi Musa is not just a historical site, as we can see, but it is a physical and spiritual link to the story of Moses. Architecturally, it reflects the medieval Islamic style, featuring a mosque, shrine, and accommodations for pilgrims, all preserved and restored over the centuries. The shrine itself is simple but majestic, offering a quiet space for reflection amid the stark desert landscape, which only adds to its mystical aura. But is Nabi Musa really Moses' final resting place? Other sites, such as Jebel Haroun, also claim to hold this honor. Located near Petra in modern-day Jordan, Jebel Haroun is believed to be the burial place of Moses' brother Aaron. Some suggest that Moses himself could be buried nearby, making this mountain a site of great religious and historical significance. Jebel Haroun, or Aaron's Mountain, rises 4,500 feet above sea level, towering over the Petra region. This site has drawn pilgrims for centuries, attracting Jews, Christians, and Muslims, each with their own traditions tied to the sacred peak. At the summit stands a white-domed mosque built in the 14th century, marking Aaron's believed resting place. The journey to the top is challenging and requires stamina, but for those who reach it, the reward is more than the stunning views of the Petra landscape. It's the profound sense of spiritual connection to a place of deep historical and religious importance. The mosque on Jebel Haroun, with its simple yet striking white dome, marks the spot where Aaron, the brother of Moses, is believed to be buried. The modest structure consists of a single room and a small courtyard, but its religious significance far outweighs its size. Jebel Haroun is revered in Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions as Aaron's resting place. According to the Torah, Aaron died and was buried at a location referred to as Mount Hor or Mosera, though interpretations vary. The Jewish historian Josephus, in the 1st century AD, identified the mountain near Petra as Mount Hor, the site of Aaron's death. This belief was later embraced by Christians, who built a Byzantine monastery there, establishing it as a pilgrimage destination. In Islamic tradition, Aaron, known as Harun, is also highly revered. He is acknowledged in the Quran as a prophet who aided his brother Musa, Moses, in leading the Israelites. The current mosque, built during the Mamluk era in the early 14th century, stands atop the mountain as a sacred place for Muslims. However, long before the mosque, a Christian monastery stood here, offering refuge for travelers and pilgrims. Today, the ruins of that monastery can still be seen near the peak, a testament to the mountain's long history as a holy site. The interior of the mosque is simple, with a small room beneath the dome serving as a shrine to Aaron. An inscription above the door notes the mosque's last renovation in 1320 AD, maintaining the modest charm that invites visitors to reflect on the site's spiritual importance. Another significant location often associated with Moses is Mount Nebo, widely regarded as his final resting place. Mount Nebo, located in Jordan and rising about 2,300 feet above sea level, is rich with biblical history. According to the Bible, it was from this mountain that Moses was granted a view of the promised land, though he would not enter it. Instead, it is said that Moses died on Mount Nebo, with his burial site left a mystery. From the summit of Mount Nebo, one can take in breathtaking views of the Jordan River Valley, with the West Bank and, on clear days, even the city of Jerusalem visible in the distance. This panorama offers a sense of what Moses might have seen during his final moments. Over the centuries, Mount Nebo has remained a destination for pilgrims, adding to its deep religious and historical significance. Nearby lies the ancient town of Nebo, further enriching the site's sacred legacy. Mount Nebo's significance is made clearer in the book of Deuteronomy, as mentioned before, where it is described that Moses ascended the mountain, viewed the promised land of Canaan, and then passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would echo through millennia. To commemorate this sacred moment, a Christian church was built at the summit during the Byzantine era. Discovered during explorations in the 1930s, the site revealed a rich history beneath its soil. The church, originally constructed in the 4th century in the typical basilica pattern, was expanded in the 6th century. 6 tombs, carved into the rock beneath the church's mosaic floor, added to the site's enigma. Mount Nebo's enduring importance was highlighted in 2000 when Pope John Paul II visited the summit during his pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He planted an olive tree next to the Byzantine chapel, symbolizing peace and reflecting the mountain's spiritual history. 9 years later, Pope Benedict XVI followed suit, delivering a speech and admiring the same landscape that Moses might have seen. A modern addition to the site is a striking serpentine cross sculpture created by Italian artist Gian Paolo Fantoni. This artwork symbolizes both the bronze serpent invoked by Moses in the wilderness and the cross of Jesus, blending 2 powerful symbols of faith and redemption. Mount Nebo is also mentioned in the 2nd book of Maccabees, where it is written that the prophet Jeremiah hid the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant in a cave on the mountain. This has led to centuries of speculation about hidden treasures still concealed there. The idea gained further attention when amateur archaeologist Ron Wyatt claimed to have found evidence supporting this theory. Despite Mount Nebo being the most widely accepted location for Moses' burial, the exact site of his grave remains unknown. This mystery captured the imagination of explorer Josh Gates, who embarked on an ambitious journey to uncover possible alternate burial sites. One area that caught his attention was the Sea of Galilee, a region steeped in biblical history. In 2018, Gates and his team set out on an expedition, meticulously planning to search for underwater sites or hidden structures around the Sea of Galilee, hoping to find clues to the long-lost tomb of Moses. With the latest technology at their disposal, Josh Gates and his team were prepared to explore the depths of the Sea of Galilee and its surrounding terrain in their quest to uncover the long-lost tomb of Moses.
You could look down into the Sea of Galilee and see this bump. Is there anything else like this that rises up out of the lake here?
Their first tool was satellite imagery, which allowed them to analyze the terrain and pinpoint areas that matched descriptions from ancient texts. This technique gave them a detailed understanding of the region before they even began the physical search. With the help of advanced mapping software, they created precise maps to guide their expedition. As they ventured into the field, Josh used ground-penetrating radar, GPR, a non-invasive tool that sends radar pulses into the ground and returns signals when it detects subsurface objects. This allowed them to see beneath the earth without disturbing the terrain. Drones equipped with high-resolution cameras provided aerial views of the landscape, capturing images of hard-to-reach places like cliffs and steep areas, giving the team new insights from above. They also used 3D scanning technology to create detailed models of their discoveries, which enabled further analysis and helped them share their findings with the broader public. But it was their discovery beneath the Sea of Galilee that truly captured the world's attention. In October 2018, after weeks of scanning and surveying, Josh and his team uncovered an ancient circular stone monument, a cairn, submerged in the lake. This massive structure, made of basalt rocks, measured 230 feet in diameter and rose 32 feet from the lake bed. Cairns are often linked to burial practices in various ancient cultures, and this one, hidden underwater, hinted at forgotten rituals. Its monumental size and location made it a compelling piece of evidence in the search for Moses' final resting place. But it gets even more interesting. As Josh Gates and his team carefully excavated the submerged site, the possibility that this ancient structure could be linked to Moses' final resting place became more and more plausible. The cairn's massive, deliberate construction beneath the Sea of Galilee, combined with its association with ancient burial practices, suggested it wasn't just a random formation. Instead, it might be marking the tomb of a significant figure, potentially even Moses himself. The challenges of excavation were immense, and they included poor visibility, strong currents, and the sheer depth of the lake. But Josh and his team pressed on with determination. Each stone uncovered brought them closer to unraveling the mystery. Their painstaking efforts revealed more of the structure, carefully documenting every detail. What made this find truly groundbreaking wasn't just its scale, but the possibility that it could rewrite centuries of history. Artifacts found at the site, including pottery shards and ancient tools, were carbon dated to around 3,200 years ago, aligning with the era when Moses is believed to have lived. This timeline added considerable weight to the theory that the cairn could indeed be connected to Moses' tomb. But the most startling discovery came when the team found a hidden chamber beneath the mound of stones. Inside the chamber lay an ancient tomb. As they uncovered it, Josh Gates and his team couldn't believe what they had found: an undisturbed burial site, sealed for thousands of years. The tomb was constructed with great precision, using large stone blocks that had weathered the passage of time. Inside was a simple coffin, far less ornate than expected, suggesting the focus was on preservation rather than display. When they opened the tomb, the team was stunned. The remains inside were wrapped in linen, still remarkably well preserved due to the unique conditions within the chamber. There were no lavish treasures, only the body, encased in silence. The simplicity of the burial only heightened the sense of mystery, as it seemed to point towards someone of great significance, possibly Moses himself. Josh Gates exclaimed that they had found Moses' tomb, astonished by the revelation. The discovery, hidden beneath the waters of the Sea of Galilee, seemed to contradict centuries of tradition. Could this truly be the long-lost resting place of one of history's most revered figures? While you think about that, It will interest you to know that hiding Moses' place of burial was not a mistake, and it was rather an intentional move. Let's look at various explanations that have been given. Why Moses' tomb was hidden. Moses' tomb remaining hidden marks a significant break from the Torah's tradition of revering the burial sites of Israel's leaders, which began with Abraham purchasing the cave of Machpelah for Sarah, establishing a sacred family burial ground.